I got a ring light. My glasses are dirty. Um, I got a ring light. There's been a lot. There was a video that was supposed to be out like months ago that was going to be about Dune, but the video wasn't recording properly for some reason, so I'm gonna have to fight with that. In the spirit of getting some sort of content out on my channel once every 2 months, apparently, um, I've decided that sorry, I've decided that I'm just going to put something out. And in the spirit of Eva Noblezada leaving Hadestown, like this week, uh, she already left by the time I'm filming this. I thought I would talk about a lyrical analysis of Hadestown. This video is going to be three parts in one video. This is me before looking at the older lyrics and also before reading Anais Mitchell's book. This is purely for Broadway, Hadestown that you would currently see, like with the exception of No Eva, that you would currently see if you went to Broadway, I guess, or the tour. I don't know where they are right now, and watched it. Yeah, so for anybody who's uninitiated, any of the 30 of you who are uninitiated, Hadestown is the tale of Orpheus and Eurydice. If you don't know that story, it's a Greek myth where basically Eurydice and Orpheus fall in love. Eurydice dies. Orpheus goes to the underworld to try and get her back. Hades tells him that he has to go, but he can't look back. And if he looks back, then Eurydice stays dead. That's yeah. That's what the musical is about. So this is a tragedy, and this is kind of more in the form of a Greek tragedy, which I thought was fun. Um, like the audience is also a character because Hermes is narrating to us, which is fun. Lots of musicals don't usually have that, and like the chorus. Like if you have read, as I'm sure many of you have, if you've read Romeo and Juliet, then you know what a play's chorus is. They are an actual chorus in this, and like they're like the collective chorus are a character. Character's character depends on how you want to look at it. So we've got the fates, fate 1, fate 2, and fate 3. um I can't think of their actual names right now, and their function depends mostly on how you view the concept of fate as a whole. If it is this uncontrollable thing that exists outside of us, then the fates are just saying what the characters think and feel. They don't really have any agency of their own. They're just voicing. They are voicing what you would normally get from like a book if you had like omnipotent third person view. And but if you think that fate is something that's changeable by one crucial decision, then the fates are antagonists. Uh, they're a foil to Hermes that will be explained better later. Persephone is the goddess of spring and the queen of the underworld. She's completely miserable at the beginning of this play. Uh, the current person playing her on Broadway is named Jewel Blackman. Jewel Blackman. Her Persephone is absolutely tragic, and wow, because I've seen two of them now, like in person. I've seen two of them now. Jewel's uh, Persephone is absolutely, it's fantastic. It's tragic. Like, man, Hades is one of the antagonists, or I guess is the antagonist. He's low key the cause of all of this, but that will come later. He wants Persephone to stay with only him, and he's a capitalist, so there's going to be some rants about him later. His parallels are mostly to Orpheus, but there is also some Eurydice parallels, and Persephone's the same. Her parallels are mostly to Eurydice, but there are also some parallels to Orpheus. So Hermes is the narrator and appears in over half of the song with words or verses of his own. Um, there's like, if you don't count the intros as separate songs, then like the album will do that. If you don't count the intros as separate songs, then I think he's in like just about every song but like two. Just about. And I think it's no coincidence that one of those songs is Hermes is Hades, and the other song is the Fates. I think that's no coincidence. So yeah, um, the chorus is very important. There are usually six of them. I don't know why. For some reason, I thought there were like seven or five of them, but there's usually six of them. The band also can be seen as members of the chorus, if only for one song. Orpheus is the son of a muse. He has the main motif of the musical, which is the love motif. All this will make sense later. He's one of the protagonists, and he believes this song will fix everything. And Eurydice is the other one. I'm just going to preface this by saying I have seen some really trash takes about Eurydice, and we're going to get to it later, but people have been wrong, is basically my opinion. So I'm going to go through each one of these songs and just like talk about them, and if there are any lyrics I want to point out, they're in my notes. Road to Hell is the first song. It's the opening. Not a whole lot to say about this song. It introduces all of the characters and gives you the premise of the musical. You are told from the start it's a tragedy. Greek tragedies work different from like what we would consider a tragedy. Uh, I can't remember the exact definition right now. It's been a long time since high school English, but uh, yeah, like I know that the concept is different than how we contemporarily use the word tragedy. Um, I love this song, but again, there's no, it's in my summer playlist. There's not a lot to talk about. Uh, anyway, the wind blows is Eurydice's "I Want" song. Also, if the title is a Queen reference, that would be cool. I don't know though. Apparently, because my sister's already read the book, apparently this song is the one that the entire musical grew out from, which is pretty cool. It's a good song. Um, the Fates are the wind in this. They're what notes start the song that are sung. It's the Fates being the wind. That will come up again. That's what this song is also one of the reasons why I'm not so sure that the Fates are bad guys, at least in my opinion. If you disagree, that's fine, by the way. As has been well documented on this channel, all of this is just my opinion. Um, but I'm not entirely sure if the Fates are the bad guys because in a song like this, they're not saying anything that Eurydice doesn't already feel. Like she wants a place to lay down in. She wants to feel safe. She wants this is Eurydice's "I Want" song. Um, she's just doing her best to survive. The Fates also start the song, and Hermes is speaking during this song. At the end, when Hermes starts talking about Orpheus, the Fates drop out, which is good because the Fates have something I will refer to as the doubt motif, whereas Orpheus is mostly a symbol of hope, for the most part. Anyway, um, the next song is called "Come Home with Me." This is Orpheus's "I Want" song. He and Eurydice talk on the album. He sings. When we saw it last Saturday, Reeve I'm just gonna call him Reeves. I can't remember exactly what his last name is right now. Reeve was like talking more, but also I think that's because he's been playing Orpheus for a very long time now, and I don't know that he's ever taken a break except for like COVID. So his voice sounds tired. I wish he would just take a break. He doesn't have to leave. He doesn't have to leave if he doesn't want to. Just take a break. Relax your throat. um, yeah, Hermes is also encouraging this. I guess he thinks it's cute. Um, Eddie Rodriguez, I believe, is his name. We had an understudy for Hermes the other day, and I believe his name is Eddie Rodriguez. His version of Hermes is very sympathetic and nice, and yeah, um, not that like the tour Hermes or like Andre de Shields. I haven't seen the Miss Hermes. I haven't seen her. Not that tour Hermes or Andre de Shields don't want Orpheus to win, but sometimes tour Hermes can be a little bit rude. So yeah. Um, Next is Wedding Song. There's not a lot to say about the first act. There's also not a lot to say here. Eurydice expresses her doubt, and Orpheus successfully assuages her doubt, and she starts to trust him here. We also get the first part of the love motif, which, if you have sheet music, it'll probably refer to it as the law motif, but I like calling it love instead. Her faith in him increases because he's able to produce the flower, which, if you have the book or a playbill, that flower on the cover is what I'm talking about. If you Google it. If you already know the musical, you know exactly what I'm talking about. There's not a lot to talk about in Act One. Like, um, yeah. I'm also gonna refer to the motif that we hear in Wedding Song and Epic One as Melody One. Yeah. In Epic One, the next song, we learn that the melody isn't new. It's technically Hades' song. Orpheus gives us a little recap version of their myth. there's been some discourse about like changing the myth so that it's not as, unwanted on Persephone's end. And I have no opinion on that. I'm all for a creative license, especially about these stories that are centuries old. I I don't know. Sometimes I feel like there's just translations and stuff and I don't know. Yeah. Um yeah. I should probably turn the page to the next song. The next song after Epic 1 is Living It Up on Top. I promise Act 2 is more fun with the analysis. Living It Up on Top, I feel is important to mention that the time difference in this musical is a little bit difficult to tell. There's only one song that really expresses the movement of time, but that's because it's a montage. Um, the amount of time between Any Way the Wind Blows, Come Home with Me, and Wedding Song, those have no breaks, pretty much. So those songs probably all happen one after the other. Epic 1, since it references the introduced motif, it might be like 10 minutes later when there's like downtime. Um, if you're watching it on stage, there's no breaks, obviously, until you get to intermission. Um, how much time has passed between Epic 1 and Living It Up on Top? No clue. It'd be super convenient and a lot more meaningful for Eurydice if Living It Up on Top was like the next day. Uh, yeah. Anyway, we meet Persephone. Everyone is waiting for her, but she brings summer, not spring. And I think part of the reason for that is because her emotions are so strong right now that there's nothing, like Eurydice said in the first song, not the first song, in the second song, there's nothing but winter and summer now. So yeah, she brings wine in the summer, and we also know she doesn't stay very long anymore. Uh, some things to note here is that Persephone refers to everybody as brothers the same way Hermes does. She's a god, but she puts us on her level, which is really important. When we saw it on tour where we were sitting, I couldn't really see Hades that well. But if you're watching them during Epic 1, because they're on stage, if you're watching them during Epic 1, when Orpheus is singing, Persephone like stands up and kind it's kind of like she's reacting. She's also not in black, which I feel is important because even though she's still technically with Hades right now, she's not wearing black, but whatever. That's probably just a set convenience thing. And then my notes. What else? Uh, it's very telling also that she particularly wants to focus on good things right now and not the bad things. Uh, living in an oblivion. It comes up later. Um, yeah, uh, the fates are still present here. There's only one time where I think the fates being present has more to do with the music than it does with their symbolism. Here, because specifically because Persephone is still expressing the fact that she doesn't want to talk about the bad times, I think there's still doubt and all of that being expressed here. So they know that the good times won't last. Orpheus, ever the optimist, though, says that the world they live in now is still worth toasting to. People have said that this musical is kind of pessimistic, which it's not. That's kind of the whole point. They during that part of Living It Up on Top, they literally turn to us. He says, and we will always raise them up to the world we dream about. And then all of them turn to us, the audience, and go, and the one we live in now. If this musical is pessimistic to you, I don't think you were paying attention. I don't know. Um, yeah, like, don't stop dreaming of the growth world just because times are rough. August sucks for me right now, but I'm still hopeful for September. Like, toast now because we have to keep going so we can make the world that we dream about. I know that's particularly hard, and some of the songs in this musical are particularly salient right now, but it's the truth because I think it was John Green who said that one of the most enduring or maybe John Green was quoting somebody else, but I saw it from him. He said that one of the most enduring qualities of humanity, despite its seeming futility, is hope. So, um, yeah. The next song is All I've Ever Known. This is a love song between Orpheus and Eurydice. Uh, I assume time has passed now because Eurydice doesn't seem quick to love, but now she's in love with him. And I know Hermes said it was in spite of herself, but I don't think a person like Eurydice can fall in love that quickly. Um, there's some opposites here because Eurydice, she feels sunlight when Orpheus is around her, and later Persephone literally refers to Hades as her darkness. So that's fun. She's still in love with her though. She's still in love with him though. Um, and then like Orpheus for now is only concerned with Eurydice the way Hades was when they first got together. Um, yeah, yeah. Hang on. I think part of the trash takes is that like the promises that Orpheus makes to Eurydice. I don't know necessarily that Eurydice thought he was going to fix the world in 2 seconds. I think she just expected some level of accountability and responsibility. So when that showed not to be a thing, yeah. Also, in case it wasn't clear when they're doing this scene on stage, apparently they have sex during this scene. Like, not literally, it's a metaphor, but yeah, the dancing is, especially like when Orpheus is on the ground, it's a metaphor for them having sex. Which is why I say that some time has passed because one of the lines in Any Way the Wind Blows as well is Eurydice says something about men not being it, basically. Cool. Next song, Way Down in Hadestown. The first line I put in my notes is, "Ah, Lord, he coming." I think it's been around 3 months instead of six because I get the impression that she's spending 3 months on top, 9 months down below, which, oh man. Also, when you see this on stage, this first little sequence is referred to as Persephone's oh, what's the word? Exorcism, because she's like dancing and flailing her arms and stuff because like I don't really fully understand it. I just That's just how it was referred to for me. Yeah. Um Persephone is really unhappy and she and Hermes paint a really good picture of what Hadestown is like. And it's not necessarily that I don't think Eurydice was listening. I think the girl's just been desperate and hungry for a lot of her life. So, but that'll come up later because yeah, Persephone's alcoholism is also referred to in this song, like more so than the first one because like wine's not uncommon for celebrations, especially Greek celebrations. Yeah, she tells Hades he's early and he doesn't care. Eurydice and Hades' first parallel is here because Eurydice wonders what it's like to have everything like Hades does and not have to worry about anything. Both Hades and Eurydice just want security, and part of being secure in life is also knowing that you are loved. And sure, Eurydice has Orpheus, but that like does she really know that dude? At least she knows his name. And then uh like Hades wants the security to know that Persephone is coming back, and he can't get it the way he's acting now. Um, Also, Orpheus and Eurydice, both the first time they sing in this song is at the end when Persephone and Hades leave. Uh, the Gathering Storm is just like a little in between bit between Way Down in Hadestown and Epic 2. I'm not sure that this is well, it's gotta be. Yeah, this is an actual song. It may not be called a Gathering Storm though. The Fates start the wind theme again because now she's gone. Now Persephone's gone, so winter's coming. Eurydice's doubts return, especially as Orpheus goes into hyper focus mode to focus on his song. And like, I'd also like to point that out. It's very explicitly said that Orpheus is part muse, which is mostly for the music thing, but also muses are like, I don't know if muses are mortal or not, so I'm not entirely sure that they get hungry the way that like Eurydice, who is a human, would. So Epic 2 is more about Hades rather than like the song, and all of this Epic 2 really gets like summarized and watered down later. Because there's a lot of his anxiety about Persephone in this song. Somebody implied that Arms of the Sun meant Helios, who I believe is either the god of the sun or the one with the chariot. I'm not entirely sure. But Persephone doesn't fight Hades when he comes for her. If she didn't love him, she wouldn't go with him. She's a goddess too. Like, There's nothing to imply that Hades is stronger than Persephone. So, there's also a parallel here. Hades is doing what he believes is right, regardless of Persephone's nature, and Orpheus is doing what he believes is right, regardless of what Eurydice needs. And Eurydice and Persephone have both been left to survive the winter as best they can. Epic 2 is also longer than Epic 1, and it's the first one to include the chorus, even if the chorus is Hades' new song. I think it's really cool that the song ends with Hades' song, because it's underneath the la motif, the love melody 1 of the love motif, and I think that's great, because so this is my first full page of one song. So here we go, because chant, I got a lot to say about chant. This is the first song where Hades actually sings, and he sings the refrains with the Fates and the Workers for like a second, and then Persephone expresses how she's unhappy, and also that things down here are different and not the way they were before. Hades tries really hard to convince her that this is fine and that it'll help her stay, because now it's warm and bright. What do you need the surface for if it's warm and bright down here too? Yeah, completely ignoring her entire nature and the rest of who she is as a person. Like, he didn't fall in love with her as the goddess of the underworld. He fell in love with her as goddess of the spring. So, whatever. Hades is basically a capitalist and doesn't get why his wife might be upset. He calls her ungrateful, like he's forgotten this woman is a whole goddess of spring. And also she is a whole alcoholic. Like, it's not great. How he didn't notice the red flags until Orpheus pointed it out to him is no, because he did notice it. He just didn't care. Later, he literally tells her to go have a drink. Like, okay. Orpheus is still working on the song, oblivious to all that is happening, including Eurydice. He and Persephone are both concerned with what is natural. Hades doesn't seem to be aware that Persephone believes the new state of Hadestown is also unnatural, not just what's going on up top. Meanwhile, Eurydice is hungry and tired and cold, and the Fates are on that girl like flies, man. She feels abandoned by Orpheus. Orpheus also introduces Melody 2 in this song, which is cool. Hermes is trying to get Orpheus to pay attention as well, because he's seen this happen before and knows that he's about to lose Eurydice the way Hades lost Persephone. So, yeah. The song is also the first time that the Fates sing anything with Orpheus, and it's the wind theme. He can't hear them, obviously, but I think they might be singing with him, though, like with him. Under him. They might be singing under him as well, though, because Orpheus feels like if he doesn't fix everything, like if his song doesn't work, then what's anybody gonna do? Yeah. They also don't start in on Eurydice the first time until she brings up trying to trust Orpheus. So yeah. The gods have forgotten the song of their love. That's the crux of this song. Hades keeps her down for longer, making her unhappy. He changes his approach to love, and the more he changes, the further away Persephone gets from him. Yeah, the workers also start to drown out Orpheus here, because Hades can't hear the song of his love. So the tour had no elevator. So yeah, Broadway has an elevator. They've changed it since, but in one of the versions of Chant, this is an always thing for Broadway. Persephone and Hades are above the workers, and also the workers don't start in with their "ow" until Hades starts talking, which I also think is a thing, because like Persephone doesn't like it down there. And at the end of the song, Hades is talking about like finding somebody who will be happy for her fate or whatever, and he looks down at Eurydice, which I think is also, yeah, he doesn't refer to Persephone as his queen at like any point. And he believes himself totally above everyone, especially the workers, and thinks he knows better than everyone. This is the song I meant as well when I say it expresses time change, because like the Eurydice and the Fates are expressing the time change in that when Eurydice starts, there's still food. But by the end, the Fates are like, there's no more food. Like, this is not a good situation that she's gotten herself into. Cool. Moving on. Hey Little Songbird. I don't like this song. This song is skeevy. I love every depiction of Hades I have seen thus far, and I love Patrick Page's Hades. This song is skeevy. It's entrapment. Hades is a capitalist, and I hate him. So let me explain. Hades does this because Persephone won't submit to him. That is a whole other rabbit hole I'm not going down. People in Hadestown are also actively upset because this shit is unsustainable. I'm ringing any bells? This shit is unsustainable. And he takes advantage of Eurydice's hunger and the fact that she's cold. Eurydice already says what she wants. So Hades, listening to her sing, knows what she wants and actively tricks this girl into thinking that, quote unquote, flying south for the winter will be a temporary situation. Because that's what flying south for the winter is. It's temporary. They come back afterwards. I don't know. Eurydice had survived for however long at this point, which it's implied that this has been going on for years, but the situation is a little bit different now because she feels like she trusted Orpheus and now he's basically abandoned her, but maybe she can trust this guy because he's got everything and he also makes it sound temporary. The Fates also don't need to sing during this song because Eurydice's hunger is doing enough. She's good. Yeah, she also called to Orpheus again in this song, like she didn't chant and he doesn't hear her. And it's like maybe a month or two has passed since Gathering Storm because everything that happens in the underworld I think happens in 6 months. So like a month or two has passed since the Gathering Storm. The next song is When the Chips Are Down. So are the Fates evil? Debatable. Eurydice would have to make this choice no matter what because she's hungry and cold. They are just voicing her concerns, and Eurydice has only one line, and the choice is actively killing her. Because, yeah, either choice could have chance. She could stay with Orpheus, and maybe she'll no probability, she'll starve and die, or she could go with Hades, and she doesn't necessarily know what that holds. Like, she remembers way down in Hadestown, but also in Gone I'm Gone, also, so 1 second. The Fates also say don't trust anyone. So are they evil? But in Gone I'm Gone, the end of the song, the Fates are literally saying like, you can blame her all you want. This is why I don't understand the trash takes because the Fates literally say this. You can blame Eurydice all you want for what happened. She's hungry and cold. If you have never experienced a level of, I'm not saying that I have either. It's just anecdotal evidence. If you have never experienced a level of hunger where you would be willing to do anything to get food, and if you have never been so cold, now this, because I've walked home from school because they canceled the activity buses, so I had to walk home when we had club meetings in the winter. If you have never experienced a level of hunger or a level of cold where like even once you get inside you just cannot get warm, you're really not going to sympathize with her. That does not mean that you should have these trash takes. Like, Orpheus is still in, it's like, Eurydice is still in love with Orpheus. She still loves him, but he's not helping her. She's hungry and tired. And at least if they were suffering together, she wouldn't be alone. But she's alone and has no food. If Orpheus had been here, she could have talked it over with him, and Orpheus could have reminded her that if she goes down there, she will not have her free will anymore. But he's not paying attention. That's kind of the whole point. Hunger has a way with you. And the Fates aren't saying this to Eurydice. They're saying it to us, the audience. Like, love is not enough after a point. If you're starving and freezing, love isn't enough. Orpheus and Hades thought it would be, but it's not. Eurydice is hungry and Persephone needs to have spring. Like, it feels like she's not listening in way down in Hadestown, but you have to remember that by the end of Chant, things have changed. Like, she's so hungry that it's hurting her. This video might not actually only be 2 parts. I might split this into Act 1 and Act 2. So it's technically going to be 4 parts, but it's just going to be a bunch of fades in and fades out, just so I can have a break and get some water. I didn't bring my water bottle over here. Anyway, Wait for Me is the first time Orpheus looks up ever for like the last however many months it's been. And Hermes is like, what? If you actually cared, you would have listened. But Hermes helps him get to Hadestown. This is one of my favorite songs in the musical. Not my favorite, but one of my favorites. Up there in the top five. Hermes is also honest. He doesn't lie to Orpheus. He doesn't pick at his. This is why I think he's foiled to the fates. He doesn't pick at his insecurities or like what could go wrong. He's just like, this is what it is, and if you really want to go, this is what you're gonna have to face. This is what the walk is gonna be. But this is also the first time that the fates actually sing to Orpheus, and it doesn't seem like they're concerns that Orpheus is having up to this point. It seems like the fates are literally just being like, who are you and what are you doing down here? But these are concerns that he's having because he's going to the underworld and doesn't actually know what he's doing. He doesn't even know if Eurydice is still alive at this point. Yeah, but Orpheus interrupts them with Melody 1 and is able to get beyond the wall. There's this concept in musical theater called spectacle, and I feel like Wait for Me, at least Wait for Me 1, is like part spectacle. Epic 3, which is the climax of the musical, is the spectacle of the musical. But this one, like, there are lights and the stage is moving and it's amazing. The lights that are swinging, those represent the descent into hell because they like rise up. Particularly useful if you're on watching it on tour because they don't have the elevator on tour. Yeah, the workers singing here is the chorus, but I also think that this partly represents that Orpheus is going to have an effect on those workers. Yeah. So the next song is called Why We Build the Wall. If you watch the Tiny Desk concert for this musical, Anais Mitchell will mention the fact that this song was written in 2005. And I feel it is necessary, especially given some things that are going on right now, to mention this song was written in 2005. And also, when they were doing it in London, it represented Brexit. So the song was written in 2005. Okay. Persephone is now wearing black, and her hair is caged, which one of my favorite books, There As We're Watching God, hair being caged was like a whole thing in that musical in that book. So yeah, she's trapped. Hades says we build the wall, but he's not helping. In Epic 2, Orpheus says literally says with a million hands that are not his own, he builds a wall. Yeah. He calls the workers and Persephone and Hermes children. He never once references this woman as his wife. And he places himself above all of them. Poverty being the enemy is wild, since this is a cyclical problem that Hades created. He kept Persephone down for too long, so then winter came. And once winter came, but it was there for longer, all the harvest died, there was no food, people needed jobs. So where do they turn to? The only man who's got jobs. This is a cyclical problem that he created. Eurydice sings the last verse with them. The Fates are part of the SATB, but story, like, I feel like there's just part of the SATB. There's no story purpose that they serve by being here because they don't technically work for him. But even still, I have a guess. This song as a whole functions as the reinforcement of control over these people and over Persephone. And also Eurydice sings the last verse with them, so that's what this functions as. And then the Fates are here to show that he has doubt that he'll be able to maintain the control. Hades is also one of those dudes who doesn't like his wife. Like, he loves her, but he doesn't like her. Hermes calls us brother. Hades is the foreman, a boss above him. Also, it is very heavily alluded to from pretty much this point until Papers that Hades assaulted Eurydice when they went into his office. Heavily implied. Outright referenced at some point, they just don't use the words for it. Yeah, so that's the end of Act 1. Act 2 has a lot more analysis coming because Act 2 is when we get a lot of the reprises going on. So, yeah. I'm gonna go take a break. So for my birthday, I went to see, it's backwards. For my birthday, I went to see The Lion King, and I got this jacket. And the bottom, like this part down here, is magnetic, which is really cool because we love an accessible jacket. There's nothing worse than when you're putting on a normal jacket and the thingy gets caught. That's why I like hoodies better. So Act Two, you've gone to the mezzanine or where the lobby, and you bought all your little things, and you got the hairpin and the poster and the book, and it's all fun and stuff. And then you come back and you're reminded about Persephone's crippling alcoholism. I particularly do not like Hades because relationship psychology is like in another life I was a psychologist. Relationship psychology is super important to me as a person in a relationship and who has several not romantic, several platonic relationships and one romantic one, and familial relationships. It's the fact that he's actively ignoring the fact that she's unhappy until this weird half muse boy comes and tells him so is really aggravating to me. I'm sorry. I don't know what's going on. It's cold. Should probably turn off the fan then. Our Lady of the Underground is the next song. Very jazzy. It had to be explained to me that this is taking place in Persephone's secret speakeasy. That was unclear to me, so yeah. Um, her acknowledgement of this song and its title is like all is pretty much, even if she hadn't called him lover in chant, this is pretty much all I need to know, that Persephone does not mind this part of her nature. This song is called Our Lady of the Underground. They call the band and Hermes call her Our Lady of Ways, Our Lady of Means, Our Lady of the Underground, and Our Lady of the Upside Down. She's not upset necessarily with being in the underworld. It's the fact that the other half of her nature is being denied for, like, instead of 6 months out of the year, it's now 3 months out of the year, which is not good. She doesn't get to do spring. It's only summer now, which is not good. Um, yeah, she's unhappy. The band and Hermes are her friends. She calls them brothers too, and like refers to us as brother as well. Like we're we're her equals. She doesn't really understand under she doesn't really acknowledge herself as queen of Hadestown either. Neither does Hades. She's the goddess of the underworld, but he like doesn't, whatever. There's a degree of loyalty that the band and Hermes have to Persephone that doesn't necessarily exist for Hades, except out of like necessity for like living. Um, and she's nurturing to them in some degree for a part of the song. Uh, when was the last time you saw the sky? Wipe away your tears, my brother. Brother, I know how you feel, I believe is the lyric. Uh, and yeah, she also says that this song like references the problems, and she says that there's a crack in the wall. So this is either a reference to the rebellions Hades mentioned in Hey Little Songbird, Orpheus splitting the wall in Wait for Me, or the fact that her speakeasy really is a secret that Hades is unaware of, and yeah, she also calls him boss and not husband. So yeah. When she's up top, he's her husband, but when she's down below, he's the boss and the foreman or whatever. Um, yeah, it's been a while. Our Lady of the Underground, I think another 3 months has passed. I think actually we might be at like month 6 now because all the rest of these songs happen pretty quickly. I think, or maybe this is like month 5. I don't know. How long it takes Orpheus to get to the underworld is very unclear. Um, cool. So now we got Way Down in Hadestown reprise. Persephone is on stage for a lot of this second act. I think this is like one of maybe 3 songs where she's not on stage. So yeah, Eurydice is now a worker. This is not temporary. She cannot fly south for the winter and go back in the 3 months like Persephone does. This is a great reprise because this is the song where it was explained to Eurydice what Hadestown was like, and now this is just the fruition of what she did. This is the other end of that bet. Um, yeah, there's another reference to Hades assaulting her. We learn the conditions for the workers, and it sucks. They have no agency. She's not cold or hungry anymore, but now she's dead. So, and the forgetting also starts in this song. And again, are the fates evil? All they're stating is the results of the gamble. When you make a gamble, there are results, and either you like them or you don't. Eurydice just doesn't. Like, um, Hades' refrain for the workers is also going here, and very notably, Eurydice does not join in on that refrain. I don't think in any of the songs. Uh, yeah, the Fates are in minor key as well, because you know they always are because they're the dot motif, and minor key is like the sad, creepy key, whereas major key is like the happy, jovial key. Um, yeah. Also, major keys are the default usually, which is what makes minor keys stand out more. It should also be mentioned that Persephone knows all of this happened. She just couldn't stop it, I'd imagine. Like, don't get me wrong. Persephone is a goddess in her own right. She could leave if she really wanted to, but I would imagine that there's also some degree of control that Hades exerts over her when she's physically in the underworld. Um, Flowers is next. Uh, this song was weird for me because it was weird to call this song an I Want song, even though that is. Why does it feel like there's. Sorry, it feels like there's like fibers near my nose now. So that my nose is tickling now. Whatever. I'll try to focus. This far into a musical, like we're in the second act. Like we got like maybe like 7 more songs to go. 7, 9, I don't know. This far into the musical, it feels weird to call Flowers an I Want song, even though it kind of functions that way. It's more an I wanted song, but that's not really a thing in musicals, it seems, based off of what I could find. Um, this song is again just her reacting to the results of her actions. She didn't ask to be saved, and she accepts what she did. Like, come and if you who the one I left behind, if you ever walk this way, come and find me lying in the bed I made. She doesn't blame Orpheus or any of that. She just accepts the decision that she made. Um, Also, Hades' influence on her either isn't complete or Orpheus is still exerting some of his on her because she still remembers some stuff. So there's also another reference to her assault in this song. Um, at the beginning of it, this song is very reminiscent to All I've Ever Known, which is, yeah, that makes sense. Just slower and emptier. Why am I finding a bunch of cuts on me? There's a cut on my thumb, there's a cut on my thigh. What's happening? Um, yeah, it's just slower and emptier. Hades' active influence isn't stronger than Orpheus's passive influence, which is what I think it is. I don't think Orpheus means to influence anybody or like make the chorus sing with him. It's just that he's got a passive influence because he's a muse, so he does. Um, Come Home With Me reprise is the perfect reprise for Orpheus to show up in because what song better exemplifies Orpheus's naivete than the one where he's like, yeah, this woman will totally marry me. Um, and it wasn't even necessarily because of his power. In the original song, he didn't even mention the song he was working on until Hermes did. So, like, just totally naive, saw this woman, wants to be with her. Yeah. So, and he's like, he walked and it was relatively easy. So why can't we just walk back out? Like, it'll be fine. I can sing us home because I sang and I got in. And then Papers happens where Hades comes and ruins everything. Hades and Orpheus meet officially for the first time. Orpheus's naivete is there all the way up until he learns what Eurydice did. And Hades taunts him a lot and still paints a false picture of what happened. No one, I have to phrase this very specifically. Nobody who isn't desperate and like needs to pay their rent or eat knowingly gets into a bad job if they know how bad it's going to be. And even then, even if you have an idea of how bad a workplace is going to be, unless you've worked there before with those same people, you still really don't have any idea of how bad it's truly going to be or can truly get. Like, she only went because she was desperate. All of them were desperate. I. Whatever. the workers attack Orpheus, and Eurydice can't really do anything about it, and they hurt him badly. Honestly, for me, it super hurt when Hades is like, "I only buy what others choose to sell." Technically false, but we're not going to get into that right now. When Orpheus looks at Eurydice for that part, that was really upsetting. Also, real quick, on the show that we saw, Eva had to leave for something. I think it was just for her health, which, girl, I respect it. But Yaya, one of the workers and an understudy for Eurydice, did the second act, and they were amazing. I loved Yaya's performance of Eurydice. I wish we had gotten to see like their first part, but stuff happens middle of the show. It's fine. Yeah. So Hades also openly says that all of them are property, including Persephone. Like, he does not view this woman as a person. And then Nothing Changes comes. It's a song that is if you include the intros as part of their songs, like, the album will do the opposite. If you include the intros as one file with their songs, this is the only song that the Fates sing that has nobody else in it. And even then, even if you don't, Eurydice has a line in When the Chips Are Down. But yeah, the song is short but very significant because it's the first time the Fates sing alone, and it's the first time they sing to Orpheus alone, and Orpheus doesn't reply to them. And the song gets to him, and it's the changing point for Orpheus where, um, like, if you are a naive person, or you were naive, and the way you learn not to be that way is more or less by getting slapped in the face by life, that can be really jarring for you. And Orpheus is not the same from this point forward, and Eurydice doesn't really realize that. It's changed. Things, the circumstances have changed now. This this very clearly catapulted Orpheus to a level of cynicism that Eurydice, I don't think, was prepared for. Um, he just walked a long way, found out Eurydice is lost, and got beat up to boot. When the real world hits you, sometimes it can hit you hard. The next song is If It's True, which is probably third on my list of favorite songs. Orpheus has got a little hope left, but he's going to leave. Like, if he can't fix it, then it's fine. But now the workers express some agency. Also, in case it wasn't clear up to this point, we are like 40 minutes in. In case it wasn't clear up to this point, I use the words workers and chorus interchangeably. They're the same people. Um, but yeah, Orpheus's passive influence is affecting the workers, and they start singing words that he did not create. So that's good. They say some things that reference Hades, with like, what's the use of his backbone if he turns his back on everyone that he could have stood beside? Because Hades acts like it has to be this way, and Orpheus is questioning. Orpheus is asking the question that I feel like all millennials and Zoomers have always wanted answered. What if it didn't have to be this way? Like, if it's true, if you listen to the song If It's True and nothing else in the musical, this song has the most references to now because we've got the strikes going on, and there's indictments happening and people being charged with felonies, and this song is the most just like, did it have to be like this, or are you just a power hungry megalomaniac? Which is basically what Orpheus is asking. Like, Hades thinks that he must be king in order to help these people, which is untrue. He has more privilege, so he dictates how it is. Yeah. The people up top, also with the unions and stuff, if you haven't looked into it, they've been saying some really awful stuff about the strikers. It's Orpheus, or like, if you had to think about it, like, if I wanted to make the song a metaphor for now, Orpheus is the union strikers, the people who are the union. Orpheus represents them. We are the chorus. We're the public opinion, and because we're on their side. And like, at least in this song, take this as if It's True is a song by itself. We are the chorus because we are on their side, and we're not parroting things back to them, but like, we're standing with them. We're standing near him. Yeah. We're standing with the union workers. At least you should be. And Hades is everybody else. Hades is the billionaires who refuse to pay these people. Yeah, it's just a metaphor. I think the most poignant part of this song is I believe that we are many, I believe that they are few, and it isn't for the few to tell the many what is true. So, yeah. I'm sorry, there's just been a lot. 2023 has been the longest year in existence. And like honestly, if you don't agree, I need you to send some of that energy my way because this has been the longest year in existence and I am so tired and like people it's not even December yet, but sometimes people talk about like their New Year's resolutions early. My New Year's resolution for 2024 is some peace and quiet. Like my god, I just want nothing catastrophic to happen to me personally, and it'd be really really cool if like we could just get a year without something catastrophic happening because it feels like ever since 2020 it's just one catastrophe after another. These historical events just keep coming back to back to back, and people often talk about like millennials living through that, and it's like we're here too. I was technically alive before 9/11, but I have no memories of pre 9/11, not really. Like this is just one historical event after the other. My god. The next song is How Long? This is Persephone and Hades' first duet. Hades still doesn't call this woman his wife. The guitar at the beginning is playing the piano part from Living It Up on top, but the song is in minor key. And Persephone's upset, which is why it's in minor key. She's still upset. So is Hades. The guitar is what Persephone wants. And the passage of time again is rough from Come Home With Me reprise, but I'm pretty sure all of this is happening in like essentially the same day. But I do think by now it has been 6 months since Chant. Since the end of Chant. It's been 6 months, I think. Hades doesn't know Orpheus' name despite being told it at this point and hearing it. His dedication to Eurydice shows Persephone that love like that still exists in the world, which is really hopeful and nice. It makes Persephone hopeful. Like it's almost like all of Orpheus' hope gets transferred to Persephone because she sees Orpheus sing. Yeah. She was also on stage, like I think, like not for all of it, but she was also on stage more or less for part of All I've Ever Known. So she knows what the love is like, and she's seen it between the two of them. Persephone still loves Hades as well. Like she never stopped loving him. She didn't become an alcoholic only because her nature was being denied. Hades became unrecognizable to her and didn't love her how she needed. He loved her how he wanted and jealously. You can't love people how you want to be loved because that's not gonna work. Like I personally like my private time and like being left alone, and it's really great when I can be left alone. Not everybody in my life wants that same thing, and if they did want that same thing, we'd probably never talk to each other because I just don't reach out to people. It's not on purpose and it's nothing personal. I just forget. Um and again, nothing personal. I like my alone time. I like reading and I like watching YouTube videos by myself and I like listening to music with my earbuds in even when I'm the only person in the room or in the house. I just, I like the quiet. um why do I want to work in a school if I like the quiet? But anyway, um Persephone also doesn't advocate for herself in this song. She advocates for Orpheus actually. Like Hades acts like love got him nothing and music got him nothing, even though Persephone literally says, "How long? Just as long as I am your wife." Like, and then like she references like how she gets that like winter has to come, but she needs to go back above for spring. You can't keep her here. Like life goes on and he can't keep this up. He says Persephone doesn't fit in his bed, but he created the situation. That's the thing that gets me about Hades. And don't worry, there's going to be a lot of Hades rants later. In the next song, actually, I hate him as a character. which I think is kind of the point. I don't know if we're supposed to feel sympathy for him or if we're supposed to hate him as a character, but I don't like him as a character. And the fact that all of the Hades, whatever, the fact that all of the actors I've seen depict Hades and listen to, the fact that all of them do it really well only makes my hatred of Hades stronger. Chant Reprise. A great song for Orpheus and Hades to have their confrontation because they're kind of Hades' active influence on the workers is going up against Orpheus' passive influence on the workers. And there's a reason I keep calling it passive influence. I will get to that in a second. It's not even actually active, and if it's true, he's just responding to them also wanting to have some agency of their own. I will come back to that. Anyway, this isn't a montage like the first chant. This is Orpheus' magic going up against Hades' magic. And it's great. This is 4, I believe, on my list. Epic 1, if it's true, wait for me, chant reprise, chant. In case you haven't noticed, I like all the songs where there's like, because then it's like Way Down in Hadestown, then Way Down in Hadestown reprise. I like all the songs where the chorus is involved and all the different parts and stuff. Yeah. Now for my rant about Hades. Because what Hades is saying is not what happened, all right? So in order, Hades paints a horrific view of marriage. Like, he's right, it takes more than singing songs to keep a woman, but my guy, she's not property. Your wife, your partner, is not property. And that's basically how he talks about her. And, like, Persephone and Hades are, like, walking on opposite sides of the turntable because they're not together right now. And my God, like, if you view marriage like this, you hate your partner. If when Hades is singing about marriage and how you have to keep a woman, because for him it's a woman, and how you have to keep a woman, if you agree with him, you hate your partner, and I will not be argued with. Like, that's all there is to that. Part of the reason I believe their magic also is fighting is because of Chorus 2, where they repeat Orpheus and Eurydice's words, that if I raise my voice and if I raise my head. Yeah. The fates are there, but the only thing that they sing is Hades' refrain, trying to help reinforce the control or whatever. And now Hades is saying more things that just aren't true. What do you mean you were turned on? Part of the deal. You might want to turn down your volume because I think I'm going to get pretty loud with this. Part of the deal with him being, and this is in every version of the myth, no matter which version you go with, part of the deal that he made with Zeus and Demeter is the fact that Persephone cannot stay in the underworld all year, otherwise humans will die, and that's not good. So part of the contract, more or less, since he's so big on contracts and deals, part of the contract is that Persephone has to go back for 6 months so that we can have spring, summer, and fall, more or less. She leaves after the summer, but because there's no extreme turn of emotion, fall happens and then winter happens. That was part of the deal, and he has gone back on the deal. What do you mean you were turned on one too many times? That's not what happened. And, like, remember in Chant when Orpheus, there's part, if you listen to the music, remember in Chant when Orpheus said that they forgot the song of their love? No! I don't think so, because he said that he sang a song of love and intentionally stopped singing it. He did not forget the song. He just stopped singing it for whatever reason, because I guess he thought it was no longer working? Persephone still loves him. She wouldn't stay the whole 9 months if she didn't love him. She'd stay above for 9 months if she didn't love him. And Hades, okay, that's enough of the rant. More about the song, actually, instead of the lyrics. Hades does a little play on words with the last couple of lines where he says, and in the symphony of minor power chords and power lines. As it was explained to me by somebody who is more musically inclined than I am, at least in terms of like the technical side of it, power chords are like in like choir and like instruments and stuff like that. It's generally like the last chord in the song, which means he gets the last word. It's the most powerful chord in the song, usually. That's what he said. Whatever. Before we get to Epic 3, which is Orpheus's finished song, I would just like to pose a question. And this is a plot question. It's a plot hole, technically, but we remember that some plot holes are just necessary. I just think it's fun to point them out sometimes. What was the plan with the song? Epic 3 is the song. So what was the plan, Orpheus? To just sing it in a field somewhere and hope that Hades would hear? I don't think Hades can hear him in the underworld. So what was the plan? Especially with the end of the song. Like, plot holes are necessary. This is not a question. This is a rhetorical question. But like, what was the plan? So Epic 3. Epic 3 is my number one favorite song. It was probably the second song that I downloaded, because for a while it was Why We Build the Wall, but now I'm a little bit sick of that song because it was the only song on my phone for a while, so now I'm kind of sick of it. Anyway, I also don't like Hades. Epic 1 is the first part. All I've ever known is the crux of these lyrics. The vibe of Epic 2 is there, and there's a little bit of If It's True's vibe in here. If It's True's vibe in here. When he does the melody the first time, Hades is flabbergasted because he's like, where in the hell did you get that? Forgetting the part. Remember in Epic 1 where Hermes was speaking and he said that the gods sang his song of love and the world sang it with him? Like, they've heard the song before because of when you fell in love with Persephone. Also, we don't know how long ago that happened. Like, Orpheus is only Orpheus is, it's implied that he's half mortal. So the song made the world go around once. Who knows how old he is? So he's heard the song, and like he then accurately reiterates some parts of All I've Ever Known because it's literally the same story. He saw Persephone and wanted to take her home, the way Orpheus saw Eurydice and wanted to take her home. Then the spectacle happens. It's my favorite part. There's a cappella and there's lights and it's so pretty. Um, yeah, the Fates are there because they're just on stage, but I don't think this is part of the dot motif. I think they're there to be part of the SATB so that each melody part comes out really loudly. Like if you listen to the album, if you listen to Epic 3, at least I can hear Joel Blackman pretty clearly. I think I can also hear Amber Gray, who's originated the role of Persephone on Broadway. I believe I can also hear her clearly too. And also Eva. I think the Fates are just there to be part of the SATB. Also, in case you don't know, SATB means soprano, alto, tenor, bass. It's the parts of a choir, of a chorus. So, yeah. Um, this song is the spectacle. Everybody, pretty much every actor in the musical is singing, and the workers remove their goggles and like they stand together, and it's like really pretty. And I love rounds, which is also what they're doing. They're singing in rounds, which is great. The next verse has the If It's True vibes, because Hades is so steadfast and so sure that he's right that he refuses to see what's right in front of him, that Persephone loves him and she's severely unhappy. When we saw it on last Saturday, and Hades is like listening to Orpheus sing and he's like considering things, and then Orpheus says what he doesn't know is that what he's defending is already gone. The way he turned around and looked at Persephone, and Jewel Blackman, like her shoulders did that like cry thing where it's like you inhale a lot, so like your shoulders kind of. Man, Jewel's Persephone is tragic. Anyway, I also think that Orpheus is kind of singing about himself a little bit too, because he got so caught up in the song that he lost Eurydice. Like, yeah. Now, this is going to be a controversial statement, but it is the truth. To say that Hades is still the same man who has nothing to lose is no longer accurate because of the circumstance that his capitalism has created around him. He deserves to lose what he has. I'm not saying that he doesn't deserve to lose what he has. Hades absolutely deserves to lose what he has because he took it unjustly. But to say that Hades would lose nothing by letting Eurydice go is inaccurate, and the Fates will point that out. Hades then also sings part of Melody 1, and his first part's a little bit off key, but then he sings with Persephone and dances with his wife, God forbid. I am indeed saying that the world is fixed partly if capitalism loses some stuff. Like, to say that they lose nothing is completely disingenuous, and I would never want to lie to anybody. But they earned it falsely, so they don't deserve to have it. But they will lose things. I don't think their quality of life will go down, but they will lose things. Can't fly to space by yourself and all of that. Okay. Promises is next. The song is very similar to Wedding Song. Orpheus is still a little in shock from the whiplash of his worldview being shattered, so he's not entirely sure what to do. So Eurydice has to be the one to tell him what to do. She's the confident one now. She's like, I know we can do it. Everything is fine. Hope, all of that. Hades can't say no to us. What do you mean? And like Orpheus expresses some doubt on his own without even the fates being around, and the song is in major key. But he's like, I don't have any of what I said I was going to have, and I'm sorry about that. But if you come with me, I'll walk with you. And Eurydice is like, yeah, I don't need that stuff. I just need you to hear me when I call you. Like, bread when I'm hungry, bread when I'm hungry, fire when I'm cold. Just please. Also, it's Eurydice's idea to bring the workers, not Orpheus's. Orpheus is still focused on Eurydice. Yeah. So in Words of the Wise, Hades already knows that he can't possibly just let them leave, but the fates kind of exacerbate that, but also tell him that Orpheus is different now. So you can pick on that a little bit. Yeah. I think it's a good Hades Eurydice parallel because they're the one making the gambles. Meanwhile, Orpheus and Persephone, by accident or on purpose, just go along accepting their decisions. So, yeah. His Kiss, His Riot is next. Are you ready for more Hades slander? So he says he made himself their king because they needed food and homes. God forbid you just provide these people with food and home because, maybe they just deserve it and don't deserve to die. So he enslaved them, more or less. Like, because they aren't free. They have to work on this wall perpetually and constantly. And, like, the implication, because he says that the war is never won, which basically means that, like, the wall is never done. So he's basically given them artificial work that doesn't need to exist. How high does the wall need to be, my guy? He also basically killed all of these people if Way Down in Hadestown Reprise is to be believed. Like, if that's the way it went for everybody, Eurydice went behind those doors and she signed her life away. That she killed all of these people. Like, how dare people want freedom and not to work on the eternally turning wheel of torment? How dare they? Not to mention, again, that Hades created this situation in the first place. He says Orpheus is minor chord, which it technically isn't correct. Orpheus never sings in minor chord. I don't think. Actually, I think he does in Doubt Comes In, but that comes later. Yeah. The music from Why We Build the Wall is also in the song because he's like trying to figure it out, and he wants some term to be agreed upon, but he went back on the terms with Persephone, and like he says that like its bravery can be contagious when the band is playing loud and it's easy in the safety of a crowd, but that's not true. Orpheus Orpheus is glad that they're expressing some agency. He really is. I don't necessarily think Orpheus thought he was the one to fix their problem. Um like how this musical ends is going to depend really on the type of person that you are. I don't think Orpheus thought he was going to fix their problem by leading them out of Hadestown, not the workers. He just wanted Eurydice back. It's always been about Eurydice. And I think Wait For Me Reprise and Doubt Comes In both show that really well. In Wait For Me Reprise, Hermes tells them what the deal is. He has to walk in front and she has to walk behind. And if you turn to look to make sure, and if you turn around to make sure she's coming too, then she goes back to Hadestown and ain't nothing you can do. And Orpheus is like, this is shady. This is the worst. But Eurydice's not like, no. Hermes is like, nah. I think you guys can do it. It's not a trap. It's a trial. You just have to pass it. Yeah, Orpheus's suspicion hurts because it's such a far cry from the beginning of the musical. Because the circumstances for him have changed. Like, Hades is effective though because he does give them a condition on which they can leave, and he also lets Persephone leave, which is why I think it's been 6 months. Um, the Fates Who Are You is a lot more intense now because Orpheus's fear and doubt is also a lot more intense. And this time it's not Orpheus who cuts them off, it's Hermes, furthering my idea that Hermes is the foil to the Fates. Um, Orpheus also doesn't finish the song with them. Um, Eurydice is the confident one now, so she's the one. She and the workers are the ones who finish the song. Eurydice sees what Orpheus did, but it's too little, too late now. Too little, too late now, sweetheart. Doubt comes in. Took me a second to listen to because this song is really sad. It almost got me the first time I saw it, but I'm a tough cookie to crack. The Lion King made me cry though. Mufasa, 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 Mufasa. I'm getting off track. Doubt comes in almost got me though, but no. I have to, in case you were wondering, They Live in You reprise and the Circle of Life reprise. Those are the ones that got me. Anyway, Orpheus starts the melody, but he can't finish it, and it's more breathy than before. He's weaker now. Like, the Fates are here to reflect how things have changed, and being alone with his own thoughts is now, it feels like she's not coming because like he's reflecting the same doubt that Hades is reflecting, which I feel is a little bit different in Hades' case because like Hades created the circumstance that led Orpheus to create the circumstance that caused Eurydice to leave in the first place. It's a little bit different, but whatever. Eurydice and the workers interrupt the Fates the second time after Orpheus has had a verse, but he can't hear them. She's trying, but he can't hear them. And the Fates are still singing as well. Orpheus tries the motif again, and some of like the when he sings the melody one in the original Wait for Me, some of that music starts to play in the background, but he still can't finish it. And now Orpheus sings before the Fates do, expressing doubt that is completely new, and the Fates did not put that in him. Yeah. He never mistrusts Eurydice, though. His doubt is always in the circumstance. And also, if you listen to this song, it was never about the workers. This is what I meant. Everything that he's saying is like, who am I? Who am I to think that she would follow me? Like me, the guy who screwed up in the first place. It's not about not trusting Eurydice. It's about not trusting himself and not trusting Hades. Like what? I don't know. Um, but yeah, it was never. He never mentions the workers once because it was never about them. It was only ever about Eurydice, and also the workers sing a little bit with the Fates at this point, which also I think means that the workers are starting to doubt as well that they'll be able to do this. So yeah, um, Orpheus sings the Where Is She with them as well, and when Orpheus turns around, there It's You, It's Me from Come Home With Me reprise is flipped, and Eurydice is now gone. Which I gotta be honest with you, from the tour and on stage and on Broadway, the door closing and also just the elevator hole being there, both are really stark. And there are always gasps. Even if you know the story, always gasps. So that's fun. Um, I would like to point out one issue, and this is just kind of an issue that I have with the myth and not necessarily with this play, which I think is kind of the point. When was Orpheus supposed to turn around? Was Eurydice supposed to like be able to like see him and like go touch him? Because the implication is that she has to be able to see him or see his footsteps in order to be able to follow him out of the underworld. When was Orpheus supposed to turn around? He got there, so how was he supposed to know that he wasn't supposed to turn around until I guess Eurydice got to him? It was never explained. That's an issue with the myth, not necessarily the musical. The musical is based on the myth, so last two songs. Here we go. Oh my god. This video is gonna be as long as the musical is. Goddamn. So there's a lot to talk about. So Road to Hell reprise. Now we can talk about Road to Hell. These two songs, I think, they do reflect part of the musical, but I think they also have to do with this the nature of storytelling. People have favorite movies, they have favorite books, and they go back and they read. People have favorite books, and they go back and they read them a lot, constantly, all the time. And even despite knowing how it's going to end, like, do I have any particularly sad books up here? Um, Not particularly, but like, well, Skin of the Sea kind of is. You can't see it. Skin of the Sea is kind of a sad book, like the way it ends a little bit because Simi's by herself. I know that, but I would still reread that book because I love that book. And this is why we end at the start because it's just around and around we go, and this is the nature of storytelling. We keep telling these stories, and sometimes the moral might change, sometimes the metaphors might change a little bit, but the guitar also starts the music after the piano goes away, which is, I think, is also nice because Orpheus's instrument is a lyre. It's a string instrument, and it's also just about life. I think, knowing that things could go wrong, but we continue to do it anyway. Yeah, maybe next time Hades will escort Persephone, and when Eurydice and Orpheus's eyes meet again, that's really fun because Eurydice's also got the carnation. So hope. There's one more song in the musical. Because it comes after the bow, there is some debate whether or not this is the characters or the actors. I think it's the characters. In Living It Up on Top, Orpheus says, "We will the raise him up. We will raise him up." Line. This song is called "We Raise Our Cups." Um, I think, or when Persephone comes back at the end of Road to Hell, Orpheus technically isn't here anymore because the way that myth ends, by the way, Orpheus like wanders off and like some nymphs kill him, so he's not here, and she sings for him, and Eurydice and the chorus join in, and like obviously like Reeve and Orpheus's actors other places they will sing with them, but Orpheus the character is technically not there. Um, this song is just basically about like if you've struggled, don't forget to celebrate your wins, especially if you've struggled. Like when you have everything and you're one of the most privileged people in the country, life is really easy for you, and I will not be argued with. So if you have struggled and you've made it someplace even marginally better, don't forget to celebrate yourself. Yeah. Acknowledge that you overcame what you did. That's the whole musical. There will be more though, because this is me pre listening to the Off Broadway album and pre reading the book. I'm going to read the book last because in that book she talks about why she changed some lyrics. So I need to listen to the other one first and make my own observations.
I haven't put my hair in a ponytail in forever, and it's pretty puffball, which makes me so happy. I like it when my hair is longer. So part two of the Hadestown thing. Um, I listened to an off-Broadway bootleg as it was explained to me. Um, I wrote down the name of the person who uploaded it because I like malfunctioned when her upload of How Long played because it cut off. Morgana Lewis, the upload is only 1 minute and 13 seconds, but this song is 4 minutes and 3 seconds. So, but yeah, I also wrote down some rules. Um, the lack of a company is just astonishing, not a critique. It was pointed out that that might just have to do with the lack of money, which is fair, but that the companies the workers course's whole parts are missing, so the fact that this musical was ever conceived with a smaller company is wild to me. Not a critique, just wild. It has a different effect. My thoughts are on the lyrics and the tone. The instruments aren't as different, and also like in chant the instruments aren't going to be as cacophonous because it's a live recording, so I'm not really going to talk about that. And then this is about the album only because unless you get a bootleg, which is illegal, you're not going to be able to like see everything. So a lot of Hermes will be missing, but Some of it was explained to me, so I'll talk about what was explained to me. Initial reaction to the lyrics, I'm really glad that the changes were made because they made Hermes and the Fates more of a presence. Uh, a gathering storm just and also Anyway the Wind Blows just weren't there. Uh, yeah, Her- Hermes' lack of presence in the songs makes some of the songs feel a little bit empty. Chris Sullivan is a really good Hermes. He's got a very full voice. I kind of wish I got to see him do like the whole musical. It's really fun. Um, on the bright side, I did watch the Tiny Desk concert again, which is how my sister found Hadestown in the first place. I watched the Tiny Desk concert again and realized that the on Broadway piano for Come Home With Me and the violin in Wait For Me are the same. So that's fun. Um, I didn't turn on my little light, my ring light. There we go. I'm more illuminated now, and the ring light is in my glasses. Fun times wearing glasses and we're having to record videos. So yeah, um, I'm glad everybody agreed that some of the critiques that people have said are also going to be in here. I'm glad that everybody agreed that Anyway the Wind Blows is not a first song. In Road to Hell, Orpheus and Hades have like a little standoff. I did see that part of the bootleg, which I thought was nice. But yeah, I also like that the fates are tied to Hades better because he's holding a lamp like they do. Um, yeah, the changes made to Road to Hell were really good because it's a fun song and it needed to be longer. He also didn't introduce Hades or say that he's the narrator, so we, the audience, also aren't a character the way we should be. And Chris Sullivan is fun. He's fun. I would have loved to see him do the final version. Um, I just didn't like Anyway the Wind Blows because it kind of ruins a lot of what we learn about Eurydice. We don't get her motivation really. She's not introduced to us as a character until Come Home With Me. And it's just the fates, which is kind of boring. This is very hot. uh, I'm reading my notes. It also doesn't allow for like a true establishment of the always in the back of your mind. The fates aren't really always in the back of your mind. So Cool Orpheus is weird, and apparently everybody else felt, not everybody, I guess, but apparently a lot of other people felt the same. He's got too much confidence for this level of naivete to believe that he can change the world with a song. Because, like, it doesn't really matter how confident you are in your skills of like magic or music ability. To think that you can change the whole world with a single song is a pretty naive way of thinking, or it's just arrogant. I don't know. Eurydice also doesn't have any agency. Why does Orpheus know her name? Road to Hell and most of Hermes' words are an aside to us, the audience. So there's also something really sweet about Hermes encouraging the two of them to be together. This dude just walks up to this woman and is like, "Hey, I'm gonna marry you and help you get out of survival mode." And it's like, "Sir, all right. Wait, did I went the wrong way. I went the wrong way. Sorry. Here we go. The first impression of Wedding Song is that Eurydice needs to know about the song Orpheus is writing so that she knows that it works. Because that faith in him about the song is what binds Eurydice to Orpheus in the first place. Like, yes, she ends up loving him as well, but like, the first reason that she ends up with him is because Hermes tells her that maybe he'll make you feel alive, and B, the song. She sees that it works and she develops some faith in him. Um, Also, Orpheus is saying like, uh, when I sing my song, all the rivers are gonna sing along, and they're gonna break their banks for me instead of us, which is all right. That was a decision. Um, in Broadway, in Epic One, Hermes implied that Hades and Persephone's love for each other is what made the world go round, and Orpheus kind of implies that their love can fix everything because like the song and all of that. That's not the impression that I get from this. Yeah, the motif not being introduced here, given its importance to the plot, is odd. Like, what convinced Eurydice? Why is she with this man? Epic One focuses on Persephone more, and I think that's a loss for the Broadway version. I will never be convinced that less Persephone is a good thing. I think some of the this like in this version of the musical, Persephone and Eurydice's parallels are clearer because Persephone is just talked about more. There's a lot of emphasis on Hades and what he did because it is his fault, but there's a lot of emphasis on Hades and what he did, but not a whole lot on Persephone's reaction. We just kind of get to see it through, like, it's implied, and also the drinking and all of that. It's more or less just heavily alluded to. Um, I also don't like the way the song ends because the song isn't finished yet, so Orpheus should be singing it alone. But whatever. Um, More trash takes by an incorrect audience. Apparently, people felt like this version of Living It Up on Top was too fun and made the top part look too fun. Which, if you think that, I'm really not sure what to say to that because that's the whole point. Persephone doesn't want to be in the underworld. She wants to be up top where it's fun and where she can see the sun and doesn't have to be with her downer of a husband who isn't loving her the way he should be. Um it is the funnest song in the musical for that reason. Not fun as in like fun to sing. This is, in my opinion, that's probably chant reprise, but it's fun in terms of tone. It is the funnest song in the musical because it is supposed to be. Like, all right. Orpheus's lyrics in this song feel cruel though, because like you've experienced the winter time, and also even though it's not fully explained in the album, he's a muse. He's not entirely human, so whether or not he like needs to eat the way we do and if he feels cold the way mortals do is completely up for grabs. But no, people went underground and went to Hadestown because they were starving and cold. So his lyrics feel kind of cruel. Um, yeah. And it also, like, without Any Way the Wind Blows, it makes this song empty because this is part of when Eurydice decided that she was going to stay. But now it just feels like Eurydice was kind of always around the station and he just finally got the confidence to go speak to her. So, um, with also without Any Way the Wind Blows, at least Eurydice being in it, without her in that song, All I've Ever Known also feels a little bit disjointed. Also, in case you're wondering, this is just like why they made the change. This is my opinion on why they probably made the changes that they did. I'm going to read Aeneas's book, and then we will come back to that. So that part of the video is hopefully the shortest part of the video. Anyway, um, I also like that Orpheus is mostly quiet in this part. Like, shut your cool ass up, bro. I don't like Orpheus in this. Way Down in Hadestown is still fun. My biggest issue. Can you guess which character I've got the biggest issue with? Orpheus would know some of this because of Hermes' stories, but Orpheus has no reason to sing this here because he doesn't. In him being so confident, he's probably too confident to think that Eurydice would ever leave. And based on promises at the end of this version of the musical, he is too confident to believe that Eurydice would ever leave. So he shouldn't be singing here. It's Persephone, Hermes, and the Fates telling Eurydice what it's like. I, with her lover being like, hey, don't do that, because he's like staying near her the entire time. And this Eurydice is just, she lacks a lot of character development, I feel like, because we don't get that initial of Any Way the Wind Blows. So also, anybody who said that Eurydice doesn't have any character development, because I think I heard that somewhere. Ridiculous. Of course she does. Anyway, um, other than that, it's essentially the same song. Orpheus has just got some of Hermes' lyrics. I don't like that the motif is in Epic 2 twice, but since Epic 1 is about Persephone, Epic 2 being about Hades is really good. Um, yeah, not a lot to say there. The idea that this musical was ever thought of company is wild. It's now that I realize that the Fates also lack presence. I realized that by chant. Um, Eurydice mimics Persephone's anger, which is nice. This is what I meant when I said that the parallels between Persephone and Eurydice are stronger here, because in this version of the musical, Persephone is angry, like just full on anger. Although I think it's either Amber or Lana. Both of them have angrier versions of Persephone than Jewel does. Those are the only three. Those are the only three I've ever heard. I've never heard the other Persephone's. Whoop! A video played. Sorry. Um, Persephone doesn't even call Hades lover in the song, which is interesting. Um, The lack of Orpheus in this song as well is because it gives more credence to his ADHD hyperfixation on his song and ignoring Eurydice. Not ignoring, he just doesn't notice what she needs. Anyway, nothing really to say about Hey Little Songbird, thank God. The Fates remind me of the Sanderson sisters for some reason in this these three women, the way they sing when the chips are down reminds me of the Sanderson sisters. Uh with Wait for Me, there's an intensity missing that is provided by the Fates and Hermes. So yeah, specific like not them individually. Those two sets of characters together create an intensity in the song that is missing because the Fates lack presence. Hermes' words are pretty much the same. Pretty much, I'm pretty sure they're mostly. I'm pretty sure they're 100% the same. Anyway, um, Chris Sullivan reads like, "I, dude, I'm a help, but you ain't hear this from me," which is what I really like. There's not a whole lot to say. It's one of the songs that suffers being shorter. Why We Build the Wall is also pretty much the same, just with more Eurydice, which is okay. Either version of Why We Build the Wall achieves the same effect. I feel like Our Lady in the Underground is also pretty much the same. Like there's a little bit different lyrics, but yeah, I like that it ends with Persephone sharing the moonshine, which is fun. She feels less maternal in this, which I think the gruff she's like in the entire like in a lot of the songs, which I think is why she feels less maternal. Uh, Dude. So now we're at chant two. Whiny is not the right word, but like no one told Eurydice that this was the promised land, and with Orpheus singing, that's why I don't mind Orpheus's reaction in Promises. With Orpheus singing in Way Down in Hadestown, it's kind of like, okay, maybe you didn't listen to Persephone and Hermes. Did you listen to the person that you're claiming to love? Like, this feels more like she was gullible and not desperate. And again, I think we suffer for not having her in any way the wind blows. Um, this song exemplifies, I think, the missing intensity. The wind theme isn't here. Hermes' song narration and chant is really important, and yeah, not much to say about Flowers. It's basically the same song. But I don't know what emotion Eurydice evokes in me, but whiny is the wrong word. She's not being whiny. But that's like almost there, you know. um, I also do like the way this girl, I don't know anybody's name. I'm so sorry. I also like the way this actress sings Eurydice. I like altos. I'm not an alto, but I like altos and think that they don't get enough appreciation. Uh the motif needs to be in Wait for Me, but that is mostly for set reasons, also because of the fates. Changes cause domino effects. So like if they remove the part of wait if they so we're at Come Home with Me too. If they remove the part from Come Home with Me too where the fates tell Orpheus about what happened, then they have to add that into papers. So they do. And then like what's another like domino effect change? Um if they add in if they add in parts to a song that's got a reprise, especially, so Wait for Me, Road to Hell, Come Home with Me, and Chant, and Way Down in Hadestown, then they have to add those aspects somewhere to mirror or be the same as in its reprise. So there are lots of domino effects here. Um, so like people who don't understand why they change stuff, that's why. Uh, Orpheus is cringy still and Come Home with Me too. I just like that Eurydice. I just like Eurydice and the Fates here. I don't like that the Fates are telling him what happened. Hades interrupting them for papers is a really good touch, and yeah. Also, Hades telling Orpheus, especially in this version, what with Orpheus being more arrogant, it would have made a lot more sense in this version for Hades to be the one to tell Orpheus what happened. Yeah. Persephone also just feels absent the entire time. um, how long also feels like it's missing a little bit of context because she's been missing the whole time. Like in If It's True, Hermes has like a little bit of narration about Persephone, but like I don't know, it just doesn't feel like she's been here. I wish Nothing Changes was slower on stage. If you see Nothing Changes on stage, then they'd sing it really quickly. But I wish it was at least as slow as they sing it in the Off Broadway. Um, if It's True is another song that suffers for being shorter. And I also don't like Hermes' narration here because it's just weird. Uh, with there's a lack of desperation here as well. um, and I think there could have been a way to incorporate some of the aspects of this song, especially like the ending, more for the Broadway version because I like that Orpheus says, "I'm asking you as a brother, I'm asking you as a friend, and I'm asking you as a lover." I think it is. I feel like there could have been some way to include it. I don't know how. I don't write music, but I feel like that would have been nice to include. I don't know. I like the flowery language. There are a lot of people who didn't like the poetic language and felt like it was too flowery. I liked it. And as I said, if you I watched the Morgana Lewis uploads of this. If you watch the Morgana Lewis upload, if how long is cut off, the whole thing didn't get uploaded. Um, yeah, the dialogue bit in how long is shorter, and it's weird. Yeah. Um, because I'm not discussing magic, I get to focus a lot more on like the lyrics and stuff and that in chant too. Um, so Hades' dialogue is a little bit different. Oh my god, does he hate his wife? This version of his lyrics just makes me think that he hates Persephone more than I think he hated her in the Broadway version. Like, oh my god. This is Hades also having no reaction to hearing the motif is weird because it's his song. Uh and like I like Persephone's verses, but I don't know how you would keep it, what with the addition of the chorus. Um I feel it would just be clunky if they just kind of shoved it in there. They would have to rework that entire song and then would have to probably rework. Well, no, because the first chant is fine. This is one of the songs that kind of got a little bit weird because they removed Persephone's part. She should have said something, but it's like just for consistency's sake, she should have said something. But I don't know where they would have put that. What with the addition of the workers having more, the company having more words in chant 2 makes including Persephone difficult. Yeah. Um Also, the parallel Persephone draws between her and Eurydice isn't as strong as Hades and Orpheus. And it doesn't sound like Persephone still loves him either. I still don't like Hades. If anything, this version of Chant 2 makes me hate Hades more. Yeah. Epic 3 is just a different type of intense. Like it's not necessarily like the same like desperate like hey, this is what you said but this is how you're acting. Are ring lights supposed to be hot? Maybe that's why I'm hot because I wasn't before I turned the ring light on. Anyway, um it's hard to compare these two songs because they're just so different. Epic 3 and Off Broadway and Epic 3 on Broadway, they're like very different to different effects, probably because the Orpheuses are different, but like I wouldn't even know how to begin to explain it. um the poetry is just very different. uh Word to the Wise is mostly the same, but it's in an odd spot, so therefore his kiss is his riot and also promises are also odd. The lyrics for the former two are pretty much the same. There's like a little bit more in his kiss his riot, but that's about it. They don't it didn't I don't know. I don't like Hades. So promises. I feel like if they had incorporated more of Eurydice's like, hey, these are all the things that you said were going to happen, but you didn't make them happen. I feel like that would have played into Orpheus's doubt, and the Broadway version of doubt comes in a little bit better because, and this is just my opinion. I'm not saying that Orpheus didn't care about the workers. I just don't know how much he wanted personally to be the one to, or how much he believed that he could help them necessarily, because like the circumstance changed by the end of the musical. He didn't see how the world could be anymore. Um, yeah. Orpheus thinking Hades tricked him, but it being a honest deal is also, I feel like, a lot more powerful than Hades actually tricking him. That's kind of boring. um, it's more thematic for Hades to be genuinely like, "Hey, you can do it. You got it." um, Yeah, it being a genuine trick isn't fun. Also, Promise, this is one of the songs that had to change due to the addition of the workers. Um, Not much for Wait For Me Too. They just added stuff and changed the end a little bit. I like that the Fates change their words and Doubt comes in and don't just sing the same thing. Um, I don't like the Where Are You line. I like Where Is She better because, I don't know, it just works better. And I don't like that there's not as much Orpheus in this version of the song. Um, Also, at the end of this song, my sister played it for me. At the end of this song, which she should have probably uploaded with it, is that in Way Down in Hadestown, Persephone looks at Hades and says, "You're early," and Hades says, "I missed you." In the Off Broadway version, they do that too. Orpheus and Eurydice do that as well. Um, I don't know, same effect. That one's neither here nor there for me. It's the same effect as reversing the line and Come Home with Me. Um, yeah, not as much about Road to Hell 2 because it suffers for its shortness, and also not a lot for I Raise My Cup because it's mostly the same. Just I raise my cup to him instead of like we raise our cups to them. Uh, yeah, that's mostly it. And now I'm gonna read the book. I have different camera angles every single time I film one of these videos, but you know what? I really don't care. This is the last part of the video, the shortest part of the video, so we're just gonna fucking do this. I don't give a shit. Um, can you tell that I'm tired? If you talk about my hair, you're anti-black. Anyway, so I read the book and hang on, because my book's in alphabetical order. This is what the book looks like. It's very pretty. Um, There are pictures in here of like the cast and crew, which is really fun. Um, yeah, so I like that any lyric that Anais Mitchell loved but couldn't find a place for in the musical, she called it an Orpheus lyric, or just an Orpheus. That's hysterical to me. Um, she started writing the musical in 2007, with like 2006, 2007. And I so to be clear, I'm not rehashing the book. The book exists. It's like 200 and something 257 pages long. If you really want to know about all of the changes made, just buy the book. Buy the book, see if it's in your local library, borrow it from a friend if you really can't be bothered, or listen to the audiobook. And it's Anais Mitchell reading her book on the audiobook. I'm not rehashing the whole book. I just wanted to mention some stuff as like a conclusion to my video, I guess. Um, I like that Road to Hell in the off Broadway version had to move because it got too fun. That's hysterical. And also, it just didn't fit in the spot that it was in. Yeah. I also like the tale of a love that the lyric, a tale of a song that a love that never dies. It is clunky in the current version of Road to Hell, but I don't know. If they had been given more time, I feel like she could have worked it in there somewhere, but it's good that Aeneas has moved on from this musical, and I will get to that in a moment. Um, Anyway, the Wind Blows is overly poetic. If you look at the off Broadway lyrics, it is absolutely overly poetic. And reading what went on, and because she has it divided up as like Vermont, which is where she like originally started writing it, and then it'll say like Edmonton, which I think she also refers to as the Citadel, and then it'll say London, and then it'll say off Broadway, then it'll say London, and then it'll say Broadway. In London, that place is called the West End, I believe, for like their musicals and stuff. Like Six is currently on the West End, and I think Hadestown is also about to go back to London, which is fun. Um, and like reading some of what Aeneas had like in her mind in terms of some of the songs, like she said that for the part like the flame thing that is in the musical currently was originally conceived of in her mind as like a literal like fire, and like the fates are blowing it out, but Orpheus is like helping her try to light it, and Eurydice getting it to light is what piques Orpheus's interest. Clunky. But it seems like Aeneas, just like a lot of artists, had really big dreams, but physical space and budget prevented them. So yeah. Also, if you read this book, she calls her Rachel Chavkin and I think one other person, I can't remember his name right now, even though I just read the book. She calls them team dramaturgy, and then like the musical people are team music. Dramaturgy, I googled it, is the theory and practice of dramatic composition. So, yeah. Um, I'm also really happy that Aeneas hated the line in "Come Home with Me." Somebody who survives, somebody who's stronger than me. Orpheus was a dickhead when this musical was originally conceived. Um, Come Home with Me seems like a precarious song to write as well. So does like all of the songs that has like a prominent place in. They all seem really precarious to write because if you push it too far in one direction, then you end up desperate and cringy. But if you push it too far in the other direction, you end up with arrogant. So very precarious. I started giving the songs acronyms by this point because it got too much to write out the song title every time. So if I seem confused for a second, just bear with me. Um, I don't remember what everything written was supposed to be. I just read the book. What the hell? It was the song that came after. Yeah, it was the song that came after "Come Home with Me." It was it was the first incarnation of wedding song, and it was weird. It was weird because Eurydice's tone in that was "Any Way the Wind Blows," but Orpheus's tone was for wedding song and all I've ever known, and it was very dissonant. Anyway, um, so apparently at one point there were an Epic Zero and an Epic Four. That's odd. Uh Epic One in 2007 was the first song followed by Way Down in Hadestown, not the first song after Road to Hell. It was the first song in the musical. Which, as far like I get the impetus to put that song first, but as far as tone goes, that's wild. We don't know who anybody is. We don't know what the motivation is yet. That's wild. Anyway, um, yeah. Also with its original, because she puts the lyrics in the book of like other versions of the song. With those lyrics that it had at the time, that's wild. uh, it reads like Epic One and Epic Two put together as well. And living it up on top, she describes Persephone as like being tonally yellow instead of red. And later she says that she ended up not liking it, but I kind of like that. I don't know. I like the lyric of Persephone like being as free as a bee or whatever. I don't know. Um, I also now understand why living it up on top felt too fun. Because at first I was like, you remember, at first I was like, what? But I get it now. Um, Persephone's like sadness does not come through as well in other versions of Living It Up on Top. In the version that we get, it comes through pretty well, especially because like one of the detriments that I gave the or no, one of the things that I praised about the off Broadway version is that Persephone was more like in herself and the lines about what my mom said to me weren't there. But with it being what her mother said to her, it can kind of go along the lines of like, I don't necessarily believe all of these things, but this is what my mom said. So the inherent sadness is still there in the current version of Living It Up on Top. So I get it now. um, yeah. Without Eurydice in Any Way the Wind Blows, though, um, because there's the line about there was a young girl who would always run away isn't there as well, which again contributes to the song being too fun. Without Eurydice there in Any Way the Wind Blows, it's dissonant. I also like that the actors had influence on the musical, like Chris Sullivan, the original version of not original obviously, but like the off Broadway Hermes. Uh, there's a line, the line in Wait for Me intro where he says around the back, but that ain't easy walking, Jack. It used to be, but that's not an easy walk. And the vowel, like it technically rhymes, but the vowel thing was very odd. So Chris Sullivan texted Aeneas Mitchell and was like, hey, that ain't easy walking, Jack. And she wasn't on board. And then he sent her a voice clip of him doing it, and she was like, yep, that's the line. Which if they do license this musical out and like local productions get to do it, like the college that I went to, that theater does not have a turntable or an elevator, at least as far as I'm aware it doesn't. So that sort of input for the person directing the musical is incredibly important. um yeah, so Way Down in Hadestown's working title was A Crack in the Wall. I'm glad that that got repurposed, that title anyway. Uh, Removing Orpheus from the song also does better to shock Orpheus because as it stands, why? Hang on, I'm sorry, there's a frame behind my camera and it is swaying. I'm gonna have to take that down, but it doesn't look like it's gonna fall. Anyway, um, why does Orpheus sing in Way Down in Hadestown if he's supposed to be like naive to the world and not knowing how anything works? So removing him does better for his sudden shock of how the world works in Act Two. So yeah, uh, the Edmonton A Gathering Storm was a travesty. It didn't read very well. And also, there was a part in here that I wanted to read. I think it's for that song, as a matter of fact, that is about Orpheus and Eurydice. Specifically, if you don't like the fact that Orpheus left, um, and the fact that Eurydice left, and it seemed like Orpheus was just ignoring her. I'm just gonna read this to you. The notion that Orpheus could dismiss the love of his life in one breath and return to the creative act in the next didn't ring true. In the lead up to Broadway, when I began reframing Orpheus as naive, otherworldly, touched by the gods, it suddenly seemed natural that instead of ignoring Eurydice, Orpheus doesn't hear her. He's in his own world and he can't really help it. We can't blame Orpheus for who and how he is, but we also can't blame Eurydice for leaving him. Which is basically like, yeah, Orpheus is trying to change the world, and I get that, and I understand that. Eurydice is not. Eurydice is hungry. She's cold. Like, I feel like if you particularly hate the changes or particularly hate Eurydice, because I don't see a lot of hate for Orpheus anymore, but if you particularly hate them, you should read the book because I feel like it'll understanding helps you not be as hateful towards them. I feel. Um. Do. Oh, also, she said that in case. Remember how I referred to the melodies as Melody 1 and Melody 2? Melody 1 is Hades' melody, and Aeneas says that Melody 2 was part of Orpheus regifting the forgotten song back to them. So I thought that was nice. Also, I figured out why Hey Little Songbird is skeevy to me. Apparently, when this song was first written, way back when, that's no pun intended, it was a funnier song, but now in 2023, post Me Too movement, yeah. But she said that the musical takes on different meanings depending on the time that it was written as well. Like I'm sure my whole thing about if it's true, I'm sure that if the union strikes weren't going on right now, I probably wouldn't have made that connection. But yeah. Um there are apparently some people who said when the chips are down is unnecessary, but given where it falls in the musical, it's very necessary because Eurydice is grappling with this choice. It's not like there needs to be space between Hey Little Songbird and Wait for Me because then you would have license to hate Eurydice because then it just seems like she just left, like at the first sign of someone better than Orpheus. Uh, yeah. I also have a false memory of Orpheus, like the part between what the boss don't know and the boss won't mind and Persephone's like self-satisfied sigh at the end of Our Lady of the Underground. I have a false memory of on the tour Orpheus like running by and she sees him, but I maybe they should have kept it in or at least like downsized it to that because what it was originally supposed to be was going to be a travesty. But anyway, um also, don't think I'm being mean. There is one of these, I can't remember which one, but one of these, Eurydice, like two of these, I think, Aeneas didn't even want to include because she said that it embarrassed her to include it in the book. So I'm not being mean. She and some of the other of Team Dramaturgy felt the same. So, yeah. Apparently in 2007 as well, I gathered this from the pictures. There was also a Cerberus character. Doesn't get mentioned. There's a poster for America Sings Hadestown. It reminds me very much of Moulin Rouge. Also, there's a bit in this book about poetry and drama. Poetry is looking at the sandwich and like describing it and like talking about how it's probably going to taste and like imagining eating it, whereas drama is actually eating the sandwich and then the after bit. So, keeping that in mind, I think Way Down in Hadestown is poetry, and the reprise and flowers are the drama. And then if it's true is poetry, and chant, reprise, and epic 3 are the drama, which I think that's fun. Um, and I also agree with Aeneas that some of the sentimentality of the older lyrics is weird tonally. It's not necessarily dissonant in a lot of in most cases. It's not dissonant. It's just weird. Um, yeah. I get why Persephone is cut out of chant. I wish they could have found another way to include her, but I get why those lyrics in particular, especially from the Off Broadway, I get why they were cut out because Eurydice already knows the mistake that she made. She doesn't need to be reminded of it. She's currently still technically in it, so uh, yeah. I feel so bad that Epic 3, I don't know, I don't think Anais Mitchell will ever see this video. But if she ever like thinks back on the time when she was writing the epics, I really hope she sees them better these days because Epic 3 is my favorite song in the musical and it was even before I saw it on stage. So like I feel really bad that those songs caused her so much strife. Like, this woman is out here not sleeping because she couldn't figure out how necessarily to rework Epic 3. And she said that she was rewriting it all the way up to pretty much like opening night. So, like, all through the previews and stuff, she's rewriting the song. Um, I like that the instrumental in the Epic 3 instrumental, it was called Lover's Desire. Uh, I also like off Broadway promises more than on Broadway promises. I will not be convinced otherwise. I'm also pleased that I was right to feel that it would be weird if Hades intentionally tricked Orpheus. Because it makes it feel like Hades it still doesn't get it. Which I mean, let's be real, for a lot of capitalists, that's probably the result that these strikes are going to have. They're going to begrudgingly give them what they want because they need this to stop or else they'll lose money. That's probably how it's actually going to turn out. But this is fantasy, and we don't have to play by the rules of real life in fantasy. For Hades to intentionally trick Orpheus, it feels like he's still not getting the point, and like we're just going to end up in the same place we were before with Persephone. So yeah. I also like the way the book ends. The last line of the book is keep trying. Because, the last song is We Raise Our Cups. And, yeah, that's kind of the moral of this musical, ain't it? Keep trying. I want it to stop. Anyway, yeah. So that's Hadestown. If you have a chance to see it, you should. If the tour is coming your way, or if you can magic up the money to get yourself to Broadway, if you don't live in New York or you have the time and money, um, yeah, it's a fun musical. You might cry. My sister cried a lot. And yeah, musical theater is fun. I almost feel like if you don't like musicals but you like mythology, you'll probably enjoy this musical. But yeah, I ain't got nothing else to say. I really like this musical.